Okay, this is the December 17th, 2021 Real Estate and Open Space Committee meeting. We were in executive session, and we are now going to go into open regular session. Welcome, Michael Locke. Welcome to our meeting. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the November 19th, 2021 meeting. This is just the regular meeting. It is not the executive session. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any changes, questions to it? Everybody's good with it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay. So it's 6-1. Old business, here we are again, old business. I hope everybody had a chance to look over the materials that Margaret and Dave have put together. And I think if we can, what I'd like to accomplish today is if we can just kind of go over this briefly, any questions, and if everybody approves of this as it is, then I will send it to Mr. Powers and ask to be put on the Board of Selectmen agenda as soon as possible. Sometime in January, because one of our members may not be here in February, may be away. So I'd like to get it done as soon as possible. Okay, first let's look at the, Mike, you don't have copies of this?
Okay, I'm okay.
Are you good? Okay.
Watch the screen, thank you.
The cover, if everyone has looked it over, is there anything there that you disagree with, or I don't want to add to anything. I think it's pretty comprehensive. I don't think we need to add anything, but if you have any dispute or questions about anything on here, if not, if everybody is okay with it as is, I'll just take off draft at the top. That would be the only change I would do. Okay.
I think in drafting this, it was just to sort of explain what the process was that we went
Right.
through to come up with these two lists. Because there are different approaches to this. Started out with, and what we discussed the last time was looking at those, what Dave always called the no-brainers, or the low the ones where the assessed valuation is oftentimes less than what's owed in taxes. So that seemed like, and many of those parcels are just small little parcels. A lot of them are wetlands. So they don't have a lot of financial value, but they may have value to the town, and it would certainly help to clean up the tax rolls to get those taken. And then the other part is, to my mind, the important part, which is thinking about what parcels have strategic value to the town, whether it's for open space or possibly housing or other municipal purposes. And so using the maps that Dave had put together from Google Earth of all the tax title and tax lien, tax title and owners unknown, sort of looking how do they group up, and how big are they? Are they adjacent to other town land? And to try to think sort of holistically about, are they important? And when we did that, one of the most dramatic things to me, and I'll show you just by getting up here, is that the biggest and arguably among the most important of the lands that we have here, this one, this one, this one, and we have another map that shows the other ones, but these are not even assessed. They're not being taxed at all. They have no map and parcel numbers, and yet they're here, big tracts of land adjacent to primarily other open space, yeah. So this is Little Shaver Lane. This is the land, this is Copolis, so this is the land to the west of Copolis. This is the Hall's Path property that's in dispute in East Harwich. And then there's that big piece to the west, just south of the dump. And those parcels are really, this is 61 acres here. I was just, if someone was to ask me what are the most important parcels for the town to go after, I would say those are the ones, because they have, they're big chunks of land that the town's getting no tax revenue from, and they could potentially be used for a number of different things. And we've made in the spreadsheet notes about what the potential uses could be for various different parcels. And then Dave, if you can scroll back to the east again. And the other thing that really jumped out at us when we were looking at this was that in East Harwich, this is the Six Ponds area, and this is Hawks Nest Seth Whitefield Road. There's a whole assemblage of tax lien properties around the old sand pit in East Harwich. And while a lot of this is privately owned, Paul Cuddy owns, land in there, or at least has partial interest in it. The town could have a lot of influence over what happens in that part of town if we owned all of this. So taken together, even though a lot of these parcels are like, 3, 4, 5 acres, you add it together and it really adds up to something. And, we've talked about different purposes, but this part of town is close to the East Harwich Growth Center. It would make, a really smart place for some kind of a housing development, mixed-use development, and so those seem like strategic value to the town as well. And we've talked endlessly about Little Shaver Lane and its proximity, upgrading of the wells, the town wells, and it directly abuts Thompson's Field. So what Dave did was he took the that we'd identified and made a map and numbered them all so that we could, in making a presentation to the selectmen, we could have an easy way to tag them without people having to look at different map and parcel numbers, and that it's confusing. So that's kind of like a big picture view of what we did.
Now, is this the map that you'll be using?
Yeah, that was the idea.
Okay, so this is the final map?
Yeah.
Okay. And the how will the numbers correlate to these sheets?
The numbers correlate in the, there's a column in the final version of the spreadsheet that has those numbers. So, and they're numbered just sequentially, not in terms of order of priority.
Okay, so
They're just-
column B,
Yeah.
parcel ID?
Yeah.
Okay, see that.
And the ones in the spreadsheet, the ones that are highlighted in green are those parcels that don't have any map and parcel numbers and are not being taxed.
And the ones that are highlighted in green are the ones that would be our top priorities, or are they?
Well, we need to discuss that. I mean, my opinion is yes, that they would be our top priorities.
Okay, do we have a means of ranking them on any of these spreadsheets? In other words, or do we need a separate thing that says our priorities are in this area? I just want to know how to prioritize.
Yeah.
You could add a column to that spreadsheet to put priorities on. I wouldn't try to prioritize them 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there are categories in there of types of property. I'm not sure we could really come up with this parcel versus that parcel. It's like, are we going to do an area or are we not gonna do an area? Things like, the East Harwich stuff, okay?
Right.
You know, you're either gonna go after it or you're not. And same thing with the property that's east or west of Copeland's. You know, you're either gonna go after that whole chunk or you're not. You're gonna go after that whole chunk over by the transfer station or you're not. I would just do it based upon categories.
So we need to prioritize it all.
My personal opinion is no.
Yeah.
Let them, they've got their own priorities and know what their priorities
And
are.
I know they already
So-
have a
so-
list, they already have lists that they've already looked at besides ours. So I think we
You
don't
know,
need to say,
These are we've already prioritized because we pulled out a lot of things that
right,
aren't included in here.
right,
You know, we could have just given them the whole owner's unknown and
Right.
said, yeah, those would be number 1. But we've taken out a lot of the stuff that's just not worth it.
okay.
I shouldn't say we have, Margot and
Yeah, it's been a collective effort here.
allocated that, did that stuff. I just mapped it.
Okay, so we are using this list here, the one with the highlighted green.
Right.
This is the main list. And this one is also,
There are 2 spreadsheets.
right,
One of them is entitled Harwich Priority Tax Title and Owners Unknown Parcels. And the other one is entitled, I haven't got it open.
housekeeping
Housekeeping.
recommendations, okay.
Yeah, and I think we can talk, when we go to the selectmen, I think we can talk briefly about the housekeeping ones, but I don't think we need to dwell on that, because again, they're small parcels, it's just an assessor's record point of view, a good idea to clean those up.
Well,
What are
they
the-
had $500,000,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
Yeah.
pretty good. So I think we present this, they'll have this, and we can just
yeah.
make note that
Yeah.
they see, pay attention, look
Yeah.
at that, and come to their own decision.
Dave had,
Sorry, go ahead.
One thing about the small, the no-brainers, a decision that we can't make, but the town has to make, is it worth the cost to research those properties? Because they can't take them by, as far as I know, I don't know what the legal steps are that they've got to go through. But you got to go through it and say, is it worth it for this property to spend the legal costs associated? Of course, it doesn't get it off the rolls, but that's a financial decision that they have to make. Well, I keep going back to thinking of the quarter-acre lot down on Atlantic Avenue that cost more in legal costs than they got returned on.
yeah.
But, yeah, those are completely, I would,
Right.
more than 2 cents.
And
I would point out possibly that if you look at the list, that the ratio of tax due to assessed value is a good indication, and they just may want to say, let's just start down this list. You can sort it by amount that you'd get in taxes, or, that percentage to decide whether it's, hey, this is really worth to get off the book.
And the way that Dave helped us edit this spreadsheet, you can do that for any of these parcels. You've got a column, it's column J, which gives you the percentage relation between the tax due and the assessed value.
Right.
So, Carol, you were saying that we can do this, we don't have to do this individually by hand, and yes, Dave figured out how to do that, so that was a big help.
Well, the other thing is some of these properties, if the town were to take them, whatever the expense was to get them, they may be able to be disposed of, to be auctioned or sold, to bring money in, some money in.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. And in fact, going after the the properties where the taxes due is still less than the assessed value. If they do end up taking it, I think they, you would think that, oh, they have to take the difference and give it back to the person who owned the property. But in fact, they get to add in, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jim, but they get to add in their expenses of taking that property.
You're right.
It, you know, collect some of those funds by not returning as much. That's why it's not our decision.
Yeah.
I don't see us getting involved in that at all. We just wanted to point out that these are really good candidates. And some of them didn't have that big a deal on them in terms of, and I would question some of them that are on that list, but where that cutoff is should be up to the selectmen and the finance and the officers of the town.
And I think most folks in town would be glad to see that they are taking action on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a good thing. It's a good thing, and most of the town, I think, would support most of this.
And I guess one of the things I didn't say when I was just sort of brushing through this, but I think we definitely should say to the selectmen is, in this priority list, we've got 325 acres of land and 2.247 in taxes owed, million
Right.
in taxes owed. So, I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of money. And that that total doesn't even include those 4 great big parcels because they're not being taxed at all.
Right.
So,
And the suspicion is gonna be that some of those big parcels aren't being taxed at all. People are going to the woodworks and start paying taxes. And personally, I would raise the issue, who are they? When they start coming out, I think that the selectmen should be finding out who they are. Their names ought to be showing up in the newspaper someplace. They know they own it and decide not to pay taxes. I think it's a terrible situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but they've been allowed to not pay taxes.
You know, they'll now get honest only because you held a gun to their head, they were gonna take their stuff away from them. That's crazy.
Well, if the end result is they do come forward and pay the taxes and, start
They
then.
don't.
Yes, pay the
They
back.
can only pay taxes going forward.
Oh,
You know, on a parcel that has never been taxed.
right.
If it's never been taxed,
okay, yeah,
They
you
don't
can't
own
pay,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
They can't send a tax bill to somebody they don't know who it is, so.
don't I wish? Because if that was the case, most of these parcels would be on the first no-brainer list because they'd probably be over 100% of their value. Just the way Judah Eldridge is.
Yeah, wow. Okay, anybody have questions? Anybody have any comments?
Housekeeping one, so, under that second item, Lover's Lane, did you catch that it's not CR4, right, it's just C4, right?
Right, yes,
Yeah, you got
yes. So, yeah, we need to fix that.
What are you referring to?
You
That
had
was
spotted
all-
that.
Out of the whole thing, that was all I know.
Yeah. So it's C4,
Right.
right?
And that I think we decided for Prino. Was that the
Yes,
Prino
it
parcel?
is.
And in my book, that really doesn't belong on this list, but I'm not about to go change the map.
The very first,
I-
item below,
Number 3.
number 3. The parcel number should be
Two.
C4-R.
On the housekeeping?
Number 2,
list?
right?
Under
Number
part
two.
No,
of
no,
the
on the priority list.
Oh, on the priority
Yes,
list.
Parcel ID too.
Lover's Lane.
Oh, Lover's Lane,
Lover's
and it
Lane.
should be what?
It should be C4-R.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Caprino owns it now, but the taxes were when it was Daniel Small, right?
Well, it may be that he's responsible. I don't know anything about the title research that was done on it, and I don't know the law in terms of who's responsible for those back taxes. I would assume he would be.
He would be if he owns the property now.
He owns it now.
If he owns the property now, he owns what comes with the property,
Okay, well,
unfortunately.
that
Yeah.
may be fine, so we can leave it on there then, if that's the.
And that wouldn't have had to be dealt with at the closing when the property was,
Normally that is,
You must have paid cash.
sorry.
but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, huh, interesting. Well, that one might be a bit touchy.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really, I mean, for somebody looking at this for the first time, it's really overwhelming. There's a ton of information here. And so this is not going to happen quickly. But it seems to me, at least we're giving them kind of a map to
You need the
start in
visual.
on this.
You need the
Because
visual.
it's funny when Dave needed some help to try to figure out the ArcGIS system. And I put him in touch with Gary Prom, who's been the GIS person at the Cape Cod Commission for years and years and years. And Gary got back to us and said, oh, I'm really pleased to work on this. He said back in the early 90s, when we were putting together the original, maps for all the Cape towns, we were scratching our heads and saying, why is there so much owners unknown land in Harwich?
Well,
So this has been a long-standing problem in town, and it's not like this in other towns, I mean, there are some owners unknown lands, but not to the extent of what we see here.
well, I think once this, if the energy to keep moving this process forward, I think what we're doing is we're looking at a backlog. And I think maybe from now on, once they get a handle on this, maybe they will act soon on some of these properties and not let them sit there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yes,
I
Dave?
just want to thank Margot publicly for putting me in touch with Gary Prom. I've talked to him twice. It took him an hour the first time, and I got another 40 minutes from him this week.
Great.
Marvelous resource that taught me all kinds of stuff that I didn't know, and I'm rebuilding all the maps. I'm actually starting on the current maps, and the concepts that he's taught me. I just want to say thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so glad that he was able to
We've
help
been having a
you.
good time together.
Yeah.
Can't beat networking.
Yep.
Yep, networking.
And
Always
as I
helps.
said, I can't possibly be the middleman in this conversation, because whatever come out completely wrong to the other person, so you
Well,
need to
no,
talk directly to each
I
other.
want to publicly thank you, Margot, and Dave, and Carol. You have all put in a lot of time on this. I mean, we can see that. This didn't happen in an hour.
Yeah.
You put in a lot of time and work, and your dedication to doing it is admirable. And I am grateful that you all are on this committee. believe
Well,
me.
thanks.
I'm grateful for all of you to be on this committee, because as the saying goes, the wise person surrounds themselves with people who are more intelligent than they are. So that's my call. Anything else on this? Correct that one thing on there. Dave, is there anything that has to be done to the map before I pass
I
it
don't
on?
think so, no.
Okay, so if you can send me the map, because I don't think I have that, or,
Yes, I sent it to you and Mark. I thought I sent it to you.
I don't know. I
know,
kind of
I
looked
know
through,
I-
I couldn't
All right,
find it in my
I'll
email.
I'll resend
He's
it to
gonna
you.
Yeah,
make-
if
now
you
he's
could
gonna make me
if you
feel
could
bad.
resend Dave final version,
Yeah, well,
because there were some.
Yeah, because that's
there
what
were some
I
interim
had one, but I
versions.
thought it wasn't the final, so, because I would like to pass this on as soon as possible, so that we can get on the board of selectmen meeting,
I thought you had it. Okay.
okay? Anything else on this? No? Okay. Thank you very much, thank you. Okay, let's move along. Have any reports, anything that you came across or interested in?
I
Yes.
just have a question. Would it be helpful for us to actually vote on this to sort of, demonstrate our
Well, we could take a vote if everyone approves of,
I mean, basically, I want to congratulate Margot and Dave and Carol and all. I think that an enormous effort to deal with what is a very complicated issue and I'd like to fully support their approach to dealing with it. Now, each individual parcel, I'm not all that familiar with all of the parcels, but I think the approach is exactly the right approach that this committee should support.
Well, would you like to make the motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we support the approach that Margot and David took, and the sort of give to the spreadsheets that they have developed, and request that this information be transferred to the Board of Selectmen.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, Carol. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
I just realized something.
What's that, Margaret?
It doesn't, it's not about this, but we were supposed to amend our vote to amend our CPC application to.
That's right.
To the $950. That was, the Board of Selectmen did it at their meeting, and they said that we needed to do it too, because our original
Right.
application hadn't asked for that
We're not in
amount.
executive session right now.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, I know, so that's my point, is that we need, do we need to go back into executive session to make that?
Yes, I would say we need to go back into executive session to discuss the dollar amount.
Okay, so here's,
But, if we can wait, it may be better to do it at the January meeting.
I think Mike wanted it, he wanted it to be done sooner than that.
Well,
Okay,
if
here-
it
here's
needs
what
to
we
be
do.
done sooner, we certainly can.
all right, so let's finish our regular meeting. We will then vote to go
Back
into executive session and not return to the regular meeting.
Right,
Right, do that.
okay, okay.
Okay. Anyone have anything going on that came across? Okay. I would just like to say that I did, at our last, McGrath was at our meeting, and he had asked about a particular piece of property that was owners unknown, that he was interested in purchasing. I did contact him, I called him back, and I did tell him the process that would have to go through. And in other words, takes time. It's not gonna happen tomorrow that he would be able to purchase this property. And he's certainly willing to wait, whatever length of time the town should decide to take that property as owners unknown. He's willing to wait through the process. He's not in any hurry. He's just a little concerned because property next to him that he thought was not going to be developed, a builder has purchased it. So it's making kind of nervous that things that you think aren't going to be, are suddenly being purchased for building. So that was his motivation to get on with this. So other than that, I have nothing else to report. I think everything got covered. Okay, I will take a roll call vote. Carol?
Set the next meeting.
Oh, date would be January 21st. Now, hopefully, we will go before the Board of Selectmen before then, so we will have that on our, the results of that on our agenda. Other than that, if anyone has anything they would like on the agenda to bring up, let me know. Because now that we've completed this big job, we need to see, and maybe the Board of Selectmen will have us what we should look at next. So, keep that in mind. Okay.
So I would make a motion that we return to executive session, not to return to public session afterwards.
Second?
I'll second and just amend that motion to include that the executive session will be for the purpose of discussing value of certain real estate.
So, I'm sorry, say that again, please.
For the purpose of discussing the value of certain real estate.
Okay.
Value of what real estate?
Certain
certain.
real estate.
Okay, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Aye.
Marcia?
Aye.
Margot?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, now,
Okay, let me close the door.